Hello, Art Fennell with you again. I bet you're probably getting ready for the 4th of July, right? The time when we celebrate our nation's independence and freedom. Well, given the climate of the country, with all the political and social unrest, I thought this would be the perfect time to reflect on some words spoken many, many years ago. Words spoken by this man right over my shoulder. You know him well. That's Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was born a slave in Maryland in 1818. He would escape to freedom and go on to become a leading abolitionist, a statesman. He was a social reformer. Heck, he was Black Lives Matter long before its time. And he was also one hell of a writer. He was a journalist, which is why I like him so much. It's been said that Frederick Douglass was also one of the best public speakers that we never got to hear. That brings me to the point of all of this. Frederick Douglass was set to give a 4th of July speech in 1852. Heck, he was a young man at the time and a highly sought after speaker. He was probably in his mid-30s, about the age he is in this picture right here. But this speech he was going to give was going to be like none other. This one was going to cut right to the core. It was titled, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July?" So here's the backdrop as I make me a salad here in the kitchen. Don't mind me because I'm not much of a cook. But the backdrop was this. This takes place in Rochester, New York, which is where Douglass lived for about 25 years of his life. He had been asked to give this 4th of July speech by the Ladies Anti-Slavery Society, which no doubt was a nice group of little old white ladies. But Douglass said that he would give that speech, but he wouldn't do it on July 4th. Now, I checked. July 4th, 1852 was on a Sunday. Douglass told him he'd do it on the Monday, July 5th. The ladies probably didn't like that very much, but they agreed to his terms because they really wanted to hear him speak. Now, think back to the climate of the country, because here comes the good part right here. Douglass had to be just a little bit pissed off that he was asked to give a speech on the 4th of July talking about America's independence and freedom at a time when black people were still in chains and shackles and being held against their will. The 4th of July for them meant nothing. They weren't sipping lemonade under a shade tree and grilling hot dogs. No. But Douglass was a gentleman, so he began in a gentlemanly way. Fellow citizens, I have great respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They were great men. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes. And for the good they did and the principles they contend for, I will unite with you to honor their memory. Stop right there, because he offered this respect. But Douglass wasn't there to kiss ass on this day. Far from it. He had something to tell them. He said, "Pardon me, allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the principles of political freedom and justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I therefore called upon to bring our humble offerings to your national altar and to confess and express devout gratitude for the blessings from your independence to us? I am not included in your glorious anniversary," he said. "Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The sunlight that brought you light and healing has brought us stripes and death. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, but I must mourn." And then he put the cherry on it and said, "Do you citizens mean to mock me by asking me to be your speaker here today?" Wow. You know, I'm told that there were about 600 people in that auditorium, and I'm sure that after the gasp, you could probably hear a pin drop, because here was this young and impressively brilliant black man standing before them and he had just called them out. You know, that's probably like being invited to a party and then the guest of honor stands up and tells everybody that you're an asshole. And he's right. I'm sure those little old ladies must have been thinking, what the hell have we gotten ourselves into today? But Douglass was just getting started, because here comes some of the real meat, the real substance in this speech. There's a lot of it. Fellow citizens, he said, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions, whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday, are today rendered more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. If I forget, if I do not faithfully remember those bleeding children of sorrow on this day, may my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular theme would be treason, most scandalous and shocking, and would make me a reproach before God and the world. Now, I invite you to read the speech. You can find it online, and there's a lot in it, a lot of good context, more than I can get into here. But he goes on to condemn the institution of slavery, to call out the cowardice of slaveholders, and to point out the irony in a nation that celebrates freedom at a time when it's got its knee on the neck of an entire population of people. There you go right there. So Frederick Douglass was also an ordained minister, so he knew how to close out a sermon, and so I'm going to leave you with this part. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I'll answer. It's a day that reveals to him more than any other day in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness swelling with vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless, your shouts of liberty and equality are a hollow mockery, your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings with all your religious parade are to him mere fraud, deception, and hypocrisy, the thin veil to cover up the crimes for which you would disgrace a nation of savages. And here's the kicker. There is not a nation on this earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of the United States at this very hour. Those are the words of Frederick Douglass, spoken 168 years ago. I'll leave it right there. Till the next episode. Oh, this is good. It's good. Need some more sauce.